Chosen one. Pause for a moment. The noise around you, the scrolling, the weight of the day, let it still, because heaven is speaking directly to you right now. You have walked through a season that broke the strongest, yet somehow you're still standing. You wondered where God was when the heavens went silent. You asked why the one who promised to never leave seemed so far. But what you didn't see was that heaven's silence was never absence, it was observation. You were being watched, not to be condemned, but to be proven. You were being measured for a crown. When everything in your life seemed to crumble, when prayers returned unanswered, when doors slammed shut, when even your own reflection felt foreign, God was not ignoring you. He was building you in secret. You see, the silence of heaven is often the classroom of faith. The absence of sound is where the strength of your belief is revealed. Every night you cried out and heard nothing back. Something inside you was still whispering, "I will not give up." That whisper, chosen one, was the sound of your spirit passing the test. This was the night heaven went silent. Not because God turned away, but because he trusted you to remember what he already said. You were walking through the kind of darkness that separates those who believe from those who merely profess. You faced the test that measures loyalty without reward, obedience without applause, and faith without proof. You didn't know it then, but heaven was writing your endurance into eternity. You see, there are moments when God hides to see if you'll still seek, moments when he steps back to see if your heart will still chase his. The silence was not punishment, it was preparation. He had to empty you of noise to teach you the language of heaven, stillness, and in that stillness, you began to learn that his presence is not always loud. Sometimes his nearness comes dressed in quiet. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Jeremiah. Chapter 29, verse 11. For I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord, plans to prosper you and give you hope. This was the truth your soul clung to when nothing made sense. You were weary, yet you hoped. You were crushed, yet you believed. You were silenced, yet your heart kept whispering, I still trust you. And in that whisper, heaven heard the loudest declaration of faith. There were nights when the pain was so heavy, you questioned your purpose. You looked around and thought, if I'm chosen, why does it hurt this much? But listen, chosen one. The weight of your trial is proof of your calling. God doesn't test the empty. He refines the valuable. You were not forgotten. You were forged. The silence was your furnace, and your perseverance became your gold. Do you remember those moments when you almost gave up, when even breathing felt like an act of defiance against despair? The reason you didn't quit is because heaven had already marked your name in the scroll of survivors. You were never meant to perish in the valley. You were meant to emerge as proof that divine strength is real. Look at you now. You may not feel victorious, but the fact that you're still here means the test is already turning into testimony. You passed the hardest trial, the one that demanded faith when there was no evidence. You endured when you had every reason not to. Heaven takes note of that. Every tear you shed was collected. Every cry was documented. Every sleepless night was counted as worship. Beloved, you have no idea what your endurance has set in motion. The silence of heaven is giving way to the sound of divine movement. The same God who seemed silent is now preparing to speak in ways that will shake everything around you. The test was not designed to destroy you. It was designed to reveal you. You didn't lose faith. You became faith. And now, heaven sends this message to confirm it. You have passed the right way. You didn't retaliate in bitterness. You didn't compromise to escape. You didn't bow to despair. You stayed. You prayed. And you waited. That posture is the language of the chosen. That is why the silence is about to break. Chosen one, if this word reaches your spirit right now, don't scroll away. This is your confirmation you were seen. You were tested. And you were approved. Lift your head. The night of silence is over. And the dawn of recognition is near. If this message speaks to your soul, don't keep it hidden. Like, share, and subscribe so that other chosen ones who are still walking through the night can find their strength again. And as an act of faith, comment 777 below a prophetic number declaring completion and divine perfection. Let heaven see that you're still standing, still believing, and still chosen. There are burdens, chosen one, that were never meant for ordinary shoulders, and yet they rested on yours. The kind that crushes breath from the lungs. The kind that makes even waking up feel like a battle. You carried weight that wasn't just emotional, it was spiritual, generational, and unseen. Heaven assigned it not because you were weak, but because you were capable of bearing what others could not. God trusted you with pain that carried purpose. You've often wondered, why me? Why must my lessons come through loss? But the truth is, strength is never born in comfort. You were given the kind of trial that reveals who you are when everything else is stripped away. The pain was not to punish you. It was to peel away everything that pretended to be strength so that your true power, your divine endurance could rise. There were days when even breathing felt like an act of courage. Days when you looked around and saw people thriving while you were just trying to survive. And yet, deep inside, something refused to quit. You didn't understand it, but heaven did. You were walking through the furnace of divine testing, the kind that shapes prophets, warriors, and reformers. You were never meant to blend in. You were meant to break through. Sometimes, the hardest weight to carry isn't the loss of things, but the silence of those you expected to stay. You learned that not everyone can walk with you when God is shaping you. Some had to fall away so that you could see the strength of standing alone. You were being separated, not abandoned. The isolation was intentional. It was heaven's way of promoting you without applause. As you bore that invisible cross, you started to discover something sacred. The presence of God is most real when everyone else disappears. You found Him in your tears. You heard Him in the ache. Every breakdown became a prayer, and every night you wanted to give up became another verse in your victory song. You might not realize it yet, but your pain was the training ground for miracles. Those who carry great callings must first learn great endurance. You were not simply surviving, you were learning to host glory under pressure. You were being conditioned to carry fire without burning out. According to what is revealed in the book of Proverbs, chapter 24, verse 10, if you faint in adversity's day, your strength is small. Those words echo through your life like a reminder of how far you've come. You did not faint. You did not surrender. You may have bent beneath the pressure, but you did not break. The storms that came to destroy you only uncovered the depth of your resilience. What was meant to silence you has now become the reason your voice carries power. You see, God never wastes a wound. Every tear you shed, became a seed of compassion. Every betrayal taught you discernment. Every disappointment taught you trust. Even the pain you thought would kill you became the proof that you could endure the impossible. You have walked through valleys that others would fear to enter, and you came out with vision sharper than ever before. The weight you carried was wholly sacred, because it was heaven's way of teaching you dependence. You learned that true strength isn't about standing tall, but about kneeling low. You learned that peace doesn't come from having control, but from surrendering it. You learned that the same God who allowed the breaking also orchestrated the healing. Beloved, understand this: God does not test you to watch you fail. He tests you to expose the gold within. The pressure was proof that you were carrying something rare. Diamonds are never made without crushing. Oil never flows without pressing. Glory never shines without fire. You were not being punished. You were being purified. Now, as heaven looks upon you, there's a silent applause because you carried the weight you were not supposed to survive. And yet here you are, breathing, believing, and becoming. You've learned that survival itself is a form of worship. Every time you chose faith over fear, love over bitterness, forgiveness over revenge, you passed another invisible test. And the story isn't over. The weight that once buried you will soon become the foundation you build upon. The strength you gained in private will soon speak loudly in public. The God who watched you endure is preparing to reveal the reason behind it all. Chosen one, you carried your pain in silence, and no one really saw the war inside. To the world, you looked composed, calm, unshaken, but inside, your spirit was bleeding. You smiled when your heart was breaking, and you kept showing up when every part of you wanted to disappear. That hidden strength wasn't human, it was divine. You were standing in a battlefield. No one else could see a war between surrender and faith, fear and obedience, flesh and spirit. Every night you whispered prayers that never made it to anyone's ears. You wondered if heaven still heard you. You questioned if your faith even mattered anymore. And yet, you kept whispering. That's what made the difference. The smallest God, I trust you, in the middle of darkness echoed louder in eternity than 1,000 sermons spoken in light. You were never unseen. Heaven had its eyes on you the entire time. The truth is, not all battles are visible. Some are fought in the silence of your mind, in the loneliness of your room, in the quiet moments when no one claps for your courage. You fought the kind of battle that doesn't win applause but wins crowns. While others saw just your composure, heaven saw the trembling of your soul and still called it victory. There were nights when the darkness spoke louder than hope. It whispered, "You've failed. You're forgotten. You're finished." But even then, your spirit rose with a whisper stronger than despair. Not today. That quiet defiance shook the spiritual realm. Every time you refused to curse God in pain, every time you chose gratitude instead of resentment, light pierced through the darkness. As was spoken in the sacred texts of old, the book of Psalms, chapter 34, verse 18, "The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit." No, those words weren't just written centuries ago, they were written for you. They describe the very posture you lived in. Brokenhearted. Yes. Crushed. Yes. But not abandoned. You were surrounded by a presence you couldn't always feel, but that never once left. God was not just near you. He was inside the pain with you. shaping purpose out of it. You see, chosen one. Spiritual warfare isn't always loud. Sometimes it looks like staying kind when you want to be cold. Sometimes it's forgiving when you'd rather cut ties. Sometimes it's choosing to get out of bed when the weight of life tells you to stay down. Every small act of faith you made became a declaration against darkness. You fought like heaven fights quietly, persistently, with love as your weapon. And though no one celebrated those victories, the angels did. Every time you resisted bitterness, heaven recorded it. Every time you held your tongue when anger burned, heaven applauded. You thought you were alone, but your endurance was a spectacle before the throne. Do you know why God didn't step in immediately? Because he knew you were capable of standing the test. You were his warrior in disguise. You didn't need to roar. Your perseverance was your roar. You were learning that victory isn't about noise, it's about consistency. Your hidden battle became heaven's headline. The invisible war you fought is what heaven will use to elevate you next. Because those who win silently can be trusted to lead loudly. Those who stay humble in pain can be trusted with influence in purpose. You are being prepared for platforms where your scars will speak louder than your words. So now, take this moment and breathe. You made it through the path that was meant to destroy you. The war may have been hidden, but your victory won't be. Soon the same world that saw your composure will see your calling unfold. Comment, "I still stand," below. Say it as a declaration of survival, a holy defiance against everything that tried to bury you. Those 3 words are more than a comment. They're a proclamation that your hidden battle did not end in defeat. Heaven sees it, and the earth will soon witness the proof. You are still standing, not because you were the strongest, but because you were chosen. The hidden war is over, and your endurance has been recorded in heaven's archives. You fought silently, but you triumphed completely. And now, the same God who saw you in the shadows is about to bring you into the light, not to prove your worth, but to reveal his glory through your survival. You remember that moment? Chosen one, the one that almost broke you beyond repair. It wasn't loud or dramatic. It was quiet, devastating, and deeply personal. You stood at the edge of your own surrender, staring into the unknown, asking yourself if continuing was even worth it. You had done everything right, prayed every prayer, waited faithfully, and yet nothing seemed to move. You weren't just tired, you were emptied. That moment was sacred, though it didn't feel like it. It was the crossroads between despair and destiny. Heaven was holding its breath, watching what you would choose. Would you give up? Would you let the pain convince you that the promise wasn't real? Or would you, against every logical reason, still believe? You didn't realize it then, but that was the hardest test of all, the decision to keep trusting when trust no longer felt safe. Faith is easy when everything aligns. It becomes holy when everything collapses. When your strength failed, your spirit whispered, "Even now, I believe." That whisper changed everything. It was the spark that refused to die out, the ember heaven could breathe life into again. You see, every chosen soul faces that moment, the one where belief feels foolish. The moment Abraham had when he looked at an empty sky and still counted the stars. The moment Job had when he sat in ashes and still said, "Though he slay me, yet will I trust him." The moment Jesus had in Gethsemane, sweating drops of blood, yet choosing obedience over escape. These are the moments that forge eternal faith. You, too, were standing in such a moment. You didn't know that heaven was closer than ever when you were ready to walk away. God does his deepest work in the moments that look like abandonment. The silence, the stillness, the unanswered questions, they were all sacred ingredients in your transformation. You were being rebuilt in the dark. The voice of God thundered in the book of Exodus, chapter 14, verse 14. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. Well, that was the unseen command, whispered over your chaos. You thought you were waiting for God to act, but he was waiting for you to stop striving. Stillness was the signal. Heaven was waiting for the surrender that opens the floodgates of divine intervention. You were never weak for feeling like giving up. You were human. But what marked you as chosen was that you didn't stay there. You got up again. You kept walking, even when it felt pointless. Every step you took in faith while feeling nothing was a declaration. My hope is not based on what I see, and that kind of hope shakes the foundations of darkness. There were nights when your tears were your only prayer. And even then, heaven translated every drop. The angels carried your pain like incense before the throne. Not one tear was wasted. You may not have heard the reply immediately, but heaven had already begun moving the moment you whispered, "Help me." This was the moment of divine tension where heaven and hell both watched your response. The enemy wanted you to curse God, to walk away, to drown in bitterness. Heaven waited to see if your faith would still rise from the ashes. And when you chose belief, when you whispered, "Still I trust," all of hell trembled, because the hardest heartache couldn't sever your connection to the one who called you. Now, looking back, you see that the moment you almost gave up was also the moment you crossed over. Something inside you shifted. You realized that faith isn't about feeling, it's about knowing. It's about trusting the hand you can't see. That was your graduation. That was when your heart learned what sermons could never teach. You survived that edge of surrender, and in doing so, you were reborn. The weakness that once shamed you has become your strength. The tears that once blurred your vision have become lenses of compassion. You no longer look at pain the same way, because now you understand that what feels like the end is often the beginning of something holy. So, chosen one, remember that moment, not with shame, but with gratitude. It was your valley of decision. You passed through it with trembling knees and a fractured heart, but you passed nonetheless. You are no longer the same. You carry the memory of near defeat as proof that God's hand never truly left you. You almost gave up, but you didn't. And that single choice, made in weakness, became your loudest act of strength. Heaven saw it. Heaven honored it. And the story is far from over. Chosen one. It happened quietly, not in thunder or fire, but in a whisper that found you when everything else had gone still. You were sitting in your silence, weighed down by exhaustion, when something unseen brushed your heart. It wasn't a shout. It wasn't a miracle that split the sky. It was a voice softer than your own thoughts, one that carried peace instead of panic. It reminded you who you were. It reminded you who he was. That whisper didn't come to explain your pain. It came to awaken your identity. Because the truth is, you had begun to forget. The storm had been so long that you mistook survival for purpose. But when heaven spoke again, It wasn't to give you answers, it was to restore your memory. You were never just surviving, you were chosen to shine. The whisper said, "Do not be afraid." Not because the storm was ending, but because you had already outlasted it. God was not promising to remove every wave. He was reminding you that the same one who calmed the sea lives inside you. You were never drowning. You were learning to walk on water. The apostle reminds us in his letter to the Corinthians, 2nd book, chapter 12, verse 9. "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." And that single sentence has carried more warriors through their nights than any other, because the whisper of grace always arrives when your strength runs out. You were never meant to do this alone. You were never asked to be perfect, only present. Grace is what filled the space between your failure and His faithfulness. The whisper you heard wasn't random. It was heaven answering your unspoken prayer. "Lord, show me. You're still here." He didn't shout through clouds. He spoke through calm. Because sometimes, when you've been through the fire, the gentlest breeze feels like resurrection. You didn't realize it then, but that whisper was also a command. It said, "Breathe again." It didn't come with lightning, it came with clarity. And suddenly, things began to make sense. Every closed door wasn't rejection, it was redirection. Every delay wasn't denial, it was divine timing. Every silence wasn't absence, it was the sound of heaven rearranging your path. When you heard that inner stillness, you began to move differently. You stopped chasing validation and started listening for instruction. You started to realize that the same God who spoke galaxies into motion was now speaking gently to your weary heart, and He called you mine. That whisper carried resurrection in it. It breathed life back into dreams you thought were dead. It called your name with tenderness, not rebuke. It said, "I never left you. I was teaching you to hear me in the dark. Only, and now, chosen one." You've learned to recognize that voice. You can tell when heaven leans close. You can feel when peace walks into the room. You've discovered that divine communication isn't always wrapped in sermons or visions. Sometimes it's hidden in the smallest sigh of surrender. The whisper changed everything. It turned confusion into direction. It transformed your heartache into understanding. It revealed that the hardest test was never about endurance, it was about attention. Would you still listen when heaven spoke softly? Would you still believe when the miracle didn't arrive in the way you expected? You did. And that is why you're standing on sacred ground right now. Beloved, that same whisper that reached you then still moves through this message. Perhaps it speaks again through these very words, reminding you that you are not forgotten, that your obedience still matters, and that your future is still alive. You are part of something eternal, a current of grace that flows through voices, through words, through hearts, willing to share the light. When you like, share, or subscribe to this message, you're not just supporting a voice, you're helping that whisper reach someone else who's still lost in silence. You're turning your survival into someone else's lifeline. And if your heart feels led, your offering, your donation, however small, becomes a seed in heaven's soil. Every act of generosity echoes beyond numbers. It says, "I believe in this light." It keeps the flame alive for those who still sit in the dark, waiting for their own whisper of hope. Think of it like this: a candle doesn't lose its fire by lighting another. When you give, when you share, When you help this message travel farther, you are spreading warmth in a world that's forgotten how to feel. You are continuing the work that started the moment God whispered to you, "Ris again." So let the whisper live on through you. Let it move through your words, your actions, your kindness. The same grace that found you is now ready to flow through you to reach another chosen one who needs to remember that God still speaks, even in silence. Chosen one. You've known what it means to wait, not for days or weeks, but for seasons that felt endless. You prayed, you hoped, you watched, and still, nothing seemed to move. You learned that waiting isn't the absence of progress, it's the presence of purpose. Heaven was never ignoring you. It was incubating your promise. The test of waiting is one of the most sacred trials a chosen soul can face. It's easy to believe when the signs are clear, but true faith is proven when nothing changes. You were walking through the pause between prophecy and manifestation, and that space is holy. It's where faith stops being a word and becomes a lifestyle. Every delay you endured was divine design. God was preparing what you asked for, but also preparing you to handle it. Because if the blessing comes before the maturity, it can crush what it was meant to crown. Waiting is heaven's classroom, where strength is refined and vision is purified. You had moments when your heart whispered, "Has God forgotten me?" The silence felt like abandonment, but in reality, it was orchestration. Heaven doesn't rush masterpieces. You were being molded with precision like a sculptor chiseling marble. God was shaping your heart to fit the destiny you carry. Every unanswered prayer was a tool in His hand. Heaven speaks clearly through the words in Deuteronomy, chapter 31, verse 8. "The Lord Himself goes before you and will be with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged." No, you didn't realize it, but God was already in the future you were praying for. He went ahead to make sure everything was aligned before calling you forward. What you perceived as waiting was actually divine synchronization. Heaven doesn't miss its timing, it perfects it. Every time you thought you were forgotten, God was whispering to the clock of eternity, "Not yet, but soon." Because the promise wasn't just about arrival, it was about transformation. You were learning to trust the pace of grace. You may have felt like you were standing still, but spiritually, you were ascending. Patience became your altar. Every time you chose faith over frustration, heaven recorded it as worship. Your waiting season was not wasted. It was counted. The silence was teaching you endurance. The delay was teaching you discernment. And the stillness was teaching you strength. Remember how the seed feels when it's buried dark, confined, motionless. It doesn't know that the very pressure surrounding it is the womb of new life. You, too, veer underground, and it looked like nothing was happening. But roots were forming, depth was developing. When the time is right, what's been hidden will rise, not as the same you, but as the transformed you, chosen one. Waiting is not weakness, it is warfare. It's the refusal to move without divine direction. The enemy wants impatience because impatience births error. But your stillness frustrated the plans of darkness. You stood your ground when temptation called you to rush. You didn't settle for counterfeit promises. You trusted that what God begins, He finishes, even if you can't see the blueprint yet. Now heaven leans close to tell you this. The wait is almost over. The season that seemed stagnant has been moving quietly beneath the surface. The same silence that once scared you is now shifting into the sound of divine movement. The time of dormancy has prepared you for sudden growth. You're about to see why God made you wait so long. Every delay will make sense when you hold what's coming. The lessons learned in stillness will sustain what's about to bloom. You've been trained to handle wait. Now you'll be trusted with wonder. And when it happens, when the prayers you whispered become reality, remember that this was not a punishment. It was a preservation. God was not withholding from you. He was protecting you until you were ready. So now, as you stand at the edge of what's next, heaven asks for one act of faith. Comment 888 below. A prophetic number of new beginnings, divine alignment, and covenant completion. Let it be your declaration that you trust the timing of heaven, even if you can't yet trace its steps. Every number you type, every word you speak, echoes in the unseen. It tells God, I'm still waiting, but I'm waiting in faith. And when faith fills the waiting, miracles follow. You are not late. Chosen one. You are right on time for the purpose that's about to unfold. Chosen one. The fire came, not the kind that burns buildings, but the kind that burns within, the kind that strips away illusions and leaves only truth behind. You didn't invite it, yet it arrived, unannounced and unstoppable. The losses, the betrayals, the heartbreaks, they weren't punishments, they were purifications. God was not trying to destroy you. He was revealing what could survive the flames. The fire was never meant to consume you. It was meant to consume what wasn't truly you, the fears, the attachments, the old versions of yourself that couldn't go where God was leading. Every time you thought, I'm losing everything, heaven was whispering, no, you're being refined. Law. You learned that there's a sacred difference between being burnt and being refined. One destroys, the other defines. The fire that came against you was never your enemy. It was your mirror reflecting the resilience you didn't know existed. It revealed your hidden strength, your hidden light, and your unshakable connection to heaven. When you were in that furnace, everything familiar melted away. The people you leaned on disappeared. The paths that once made sense closed up. Even your own understanding failed you. But something deeper woke up, a faith not built on feelings, but on revelation. You began to realize that the same God who allows the heat is the one who stands in it with you. We are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms, chapter 66, verse 10, For you, God, tested us, you refined us like silver. Then, those words hold truth that only the tested can understand. Refining is never gentle. It is fire, pressure, and surrender. Yet through it, something beautiful emerges, purity. You have been through the flames, but what survived is indestructible. Your character has been forged, your heart purified, and your calling clarified. You didn't walk out of the fire empty, you walked out enlightened. You learned that pain can be a prophet, pointing you toward what truly matters. You discovered that the loss of what you thought you needed made space for what you were truly meant to carry. There were moments when the heat was unbearable, when you cried, Lord, where are you? But even then, He was closer than your breath. The same fire that surrounded you was the presence that shielded you. He was in the flames, ensuring that what was meant to destroy you instead defined you. Fire reveals authenticity. Gold is not afraid of fire, it is purified by it. Likewise, your calling is not weakened by adversity, it's strengthened through it. What others saw as suffering was actually sanctification. Every betrayal became a classroom. Every heartbreak, a sermon. Every disappointment, a step toward destiny. You see now, don't you? The fire didn't come to prove God's absence. It came to prove His faithfulness. You walked through seasons that stripped everything but Him. And in doing so, you found that He was always enough. That's why your eyes shine differently now. You've seen too much to doubt. You carry the calm of one who's been through the flames and found peace on the other side. The fire taught you discernment. Not everyone who walks with you can withstand the heat. Some connections were only meant for your comfort, not your calling. When they left, it hurt. But it also freed you. And though you didn't notice it at first, something miraculous happened inside you. The same fire that once hurt you began to heal you. The same pain that once burned now fuels your compassion. You no longer fear the flames. You understand their purpose. You've become the kind of soul that can walk into burning places and bring others out. Chosen one. This is why you carry authority now. Heaven trusts the voices of those who've been through fire and remained faithful. You've been refined into a vessel that can hold glory without leaking pride. You can now stand before others and say, I know what pain feels like, but I also know what resurrection looks like. And the refining process was never about punishment, it was about preparation. You are the evidence that what passes through the fire comes out shining. You are proof that divine purpose cannot be destroyed, only purified. So walk forward with the quiet confidence of one who's been tested and approved. The fire did not break you, it built you. What once felt like the end was, in truth, your beginning. You no longer carry ashes, you carry anointing. You are the flame now, steady, holy, and unstoppable. Chosen one. When the fire could not destroy you, the enemy grew desperate. You became a threat to darkness itself. And so came the final blow, subtle, ruthless, and deeply personal. This wasn't just an external attack. It struck your identity, your confidence, your very sense of belonging. The enemy couldn't take your faith, so he aimed to make you doubt yourself. He whispered lies clothed as logic. You're not really chosen. You're forgotten. You've failed too many times. You've missed your moment. The most dangerous attacks are not the ones that roar, they're the ones that whisper. Because lies spoken long enough can start to sound like truth if your spirit grows weary. You found yourself replaying past mistakes, questioning your worth, wondering if God had finally given up on you. You saw others succeed while your path stayed still. And the thought crept in, maybe I'm not favored after all. But that, chosen one, was the final test, not of your strength, but of your identity. The enemy always targets what heaven treasures. He wouldn't fight you so fiercely if you weren't carrying something eternal. Every attack, every misunderstanding, every false accusation was a mirror of your value in the kingdom. You were too dangerous to be left unchallenged. And yet, while hell plotted your collapse, heaven quietly fortified your foundation, as Jesus himself declared in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 22, verse 32. But I have prayed for you, that your faith may not fail, and when you have turned back, strengthen your brothers. Oh, those words echo through eternity, not just for Peter, but for you. God Himself has interceded for your endurance. Even when your faith trembled, His faithfulness did not. While the enemy was crafting weapons against you, Jesus was already praying strength into your soul. You were never fighting alone. This is the mystery of divine warfare. The moments you felt weakest were the moments heaven was most active. You thought the silence meant abandonment, but it was divine strategy. God was allowing the storm so you could learn how to command peace. Every false word spoken against you became a seed for vindication. Every betrayal positioned you closer to truth. The enemy underestimated one thing, that pain would not make you bitter. It would make you dangerous. Because a soul that knows how to bleed in worship cannot be broken by attack. In those moments when you almost lost hope, remember how something unseen kept pulling you back, that quiet resilience that whispered, "Try again." That wasn't coincidence, that was divine preservation. Heaven refused to let you quit. The final blow was meant to erase your name from purpose, but it only carved it deeper. Every insult, every heartbreak, every disappointment added another layer of strength. You emerged sharper, wiser, and more aware of your divine covering. You began to see that warfare wasn't personal, it was positional. The moment you stepped closer to destiny, opposition increased, not as punishment, but as confirmation. You began to discern the patterns, how before every breakthrough, a wave of confusion came, how every time your spirit was about to elevate, your circumstances seemed to crumble. It was not random, it was resistance. Darkness always tightens its grip when light is about to expand. And through it all, you didn't retaliate with bitterness. You fought by standing still, by forgiving, by trusting. Every quiet act of faith was a sword in the spirit. You may not have realized it, but while you were holding on, heaven was declaring your victory. The angels saw what hell couldn't comprehend, that even bruised, you still believed. There is power in surviving what was meant to destroy you. You now carry a kind of authority that cannot be faked, the authority of the tested. When you speak with weight, because your words are not theory, they are testimony. Others will see the calm in your eyes and know that you've been through storms that should have sunk you. Yet, here you stand, unshaken. This final blow didn't weaken you, it awakened you. It taught you to see through deception, to discern truth in the middle of lies, to trust God's voice above every other. You learned that when the enemy runs out of ways to attack your life, he attacks your identity, but you've already been sealed. Heaven's mark on you cannot be erased. And now, you walk with quiet confidence. The enemy tried to steal your name, but now you know it better than ever. You are chosen, not because you never fell, but because you kept getting back up. You are chosen because grace never gave up on you. So, when darkness tries to whisper again, let your heart answer calmly, I've already been through the fire, and I know who walks with me. You've outlasted the storm, survived the silence, and passed the hardest tests. The enemy's last weapon has failed. You are not defeated, you are defined. Chosen one. You remember that moment when everything suddenly shifted, when after so many months of stillness, something in the atmosphere finally began to move. It wasn't chaos, it was clarity. You could feel it before you saw it, a divine stirring. Quiet but undeniable. Heaven, which had felt silent for so long, began to breathe again over your life. The air around you felt lighter. Opportunities began to flicker on the horizon. Old prayers resurfaced, not as echoes, but as answers. And in your spirit, you could sense a soft but steady wind, the movement of God aligning what had once been scattered. It was the day heaven moved again. And this time, you were ready to recognize it. When divine timing arrives, it doesn't come with fireworks, it comes with peace. You noticed it, didn't you? How the things that used to worry you suddenly lost their power. The anxiety that once ruled your nights couldn't touch you anymore. It wasn't that the storm ended, it was that you finally realized you were walking on water. It was as if heaven had waited for you to reach this stillness before releasing the shift. Because now, you were no longer asking for signs, you had become one. Every step you took began to align with unseen purposes. Every conversation, every delay, every closed door started to make sense. You began to understand that what you once called wasted time was actually preparation time. The ancient words recorded in Romans chapter 8, verse 28. In all things, God works for good to those who love Him, who are called by His purpose. You didn't just read that verse, you lived it. You watched broken pieces form a picture. You saw rejection turn into redirection. You saw unanswered prayers become divine protection. Heaven didn't just move around you, it moved through you. The power that once felt distant was now pulsing in your steps, your words, your presence. Everywhere you went, there was evidence of divine rearrangement. People who once dismissed you began to notice you. Paths that were closed began to open. And it wasn't because you fought harder, it was because God decided it was time. Heaven moves when your heart aligns. And your heart had finally learned how to wait without complaint, trust without proof, and believe without sight. That's when heaven said, now. When God moves, it often looks ordinary. A conversation, a sudden opportunity, a feeling that says, go this way. You followed that inner pull, not knowing that every small step was part of something eternal. You didn't need to strive anymore, you were simply carried by grace. You started to feel peace in places that once felt heavy. You could sense divine order replacing confusion. You were stepping into a rhythm orchestrated by heaven itself. The same God who once seemed silent was now speaking in every detail, in the timing of a meeting, the words of a stranger, the calm in your chest. And as heaven began to move, so did you. You stopped replaying the past and started walking toward the promise. You stopped asking, why? And started saying, what's next? Lord, the stillness that once felt suffocating had become your strength. You no longer feared waiting, because you knew waiting births wonders. But don't miss this truth. Beloved, when heaven moves, it doesn't just bring blessings, it brings responsibility. With favor comes stewardship. With elevation comes humility. You've been prepared to carry this next chapter with grace, not pride. You know what the valley feels like, so you'll never forget how to lead from compassion. This is the shift you were made for. The spiritual wind has changed direction, and now everything attached to your destiny is being pulled into alignment. You will begin to see signs of acceleration, not chaos, but divine order, moving at heaven's pace. You may not see the full picture yet, but trust that God is already several steps ahead. You're walking in the unfolding of a divine schedule written before time began, and every day from here on is a continuation of what heaven has already decided: victory. Now, take a breath. Feel that stillness. It's not emptiness, it's proof that heaven has already moved and peace has taken its place. This is your confirmation that the waiting is over. Comment, "It is done." Uplift. Write it not as hope, but as certainty. Let those words seal what God has already begun. When you type them, you're not just reacting, you're agreeing with heaven's timing. You're declaring that you recognize the shift and receive it fully. Because yes, chosen, one heaven has moved, and everything that once resisted you now works for you. The time has come, and you are standing right in the middle of the answer you once begged for. Chosen one. Now you begin to see the pattern, how every valley led to vision, how every silence trained your hearing, and how every storm carved wisdom into your soul. This is the season where reward begins to unfold, not as luxury, but as legacy. What you endured in private is now preparing to speak publicly. The reward of endurance isn't just what you receive, it's what you become. There's a glow in your spirit that wasn't there before. It's not pride, it's peace. You don't need to prove anything anymore. You've already passed through the flames, and now you carry the quiet authority of someone who's seen too much to doubt. The same people who once questioned your faith will soon call you for guidance. The same situations that broke you will become your platform to teach others how to stand. According to what is revealed in the book of Galatians, chapter 6, verse 9, let us not grow weary in doing good, for in due time we shall reap if we do not faint. That time, beloved, is now. You're stepping into the proper time, the divine moment when heaven says, enough waiting. It's time to see what faith can do. You've sown patience, tears, humility, and trust. And the harvest is not just material, it's spiritual. It's the peace that stays. It's the strength that doesn't shake. It's the clarity that cannot be stolen. Think of a tree that has weathered years of storms. At first glance, it looks simple, just another trunk standing tall. But inside, deep within its rings, every storm is recorded. Every drought, every flood, every hard winter has carved a story into its wood. And now, when the wind blows, the tree doesn't panic, it simply sways, rooted and wise. You are that tree. Your roots reach deep. Your spirit stands tall, and your faith no longer wavers with the weather. This is what endurance creates: stability. You no longer chase the approval of others, because you've learned that applause fades, but purpose lasts. You no longer panic when plans change, because you've seen that divine detours always lead to better destinations. You've learned to move with grace through the unknown, knowing that heaven's hand never lost your map. And now, as your story begins to inspire others, remember, your reward was never meant to stop with you. The strength you've gained is meant to strengthen others. The peace you found is meant to be shared like light spilling through a cracked door. Someone else is walking where you once stumbled, and your voice might be the whisper that helps them keep going. That's why these messages exist, not just to speak to you, but to speak through you. When you like, share, or subscribe, you're not just pressing buttons, you're pressing seeds into soil. You're helping this light reach someone who might be one prayer away from giving up. Maybe it's a stranger in another country, scrolling in tears, waiting for confirmation that God still sees them. Your small act could be the spark that reignites their faith. And if your heart feels led, if you've ever been touched by these words and wanted to give back, your donation becomes part of the divine ripple. It's not about money, it's about mission. It's how heaven multiplies impact. A single act of generosity, like water poured into dry ground, grows life where despair once lived. Think of it like carrying a lantern through a dark valley. When you give, you pass that lantern forward. When you share, you light another torch. And together, we create a chain of light stretching across souls and nations, each flame declaring the same truth: we survived. And we still believe. And every act of support, every share, every like, every contribution helps this movement of faith continue to reach hearts that algorithms could never find on their own. Because this isn't just content, it's connection. It's heaven's reminder that even in the digital wilderness, light still finds its way. Chosen one, your endurance was never wasted. You are standing in the field of your harvest, surrounded by the quiet confirmation that God keeps every promise. What you're holding now, your peace, your strength, your testimony is proof that faith works. And if it worked for you, it can work for the next soul who hears this message, because you chose to share it. So let this be the moment you breathe deep and smile, not because everything is perfect, but because you finally understand the beauty of imperfection. The cracks let the light in. The pain made you compassionate. The waiting made you wise. You are the harvest heaven waited for. Now, let your story feed others. Chosen one. In the stillness after the storm, heaven was working on something you could not see. There are moments when reward doesn't come in riches or applause, but in revelation, in the quiet unveiling of what your struggle was really about. This is that moment. You are beginning to see that every tear had purpose, every delay had direction, and every heartbreak had hidden design. You are being shown that what you endured was not for nothing. It was the crafting of a crown, forged in silence and shaped by surrender. Heaven does not crown those who simply achieve. It crowns those who remain faithful when no one is watching. The journey has carved something sacred into you, a resilience born not from pride, but from purity. You've learned to love without needing to be loved back, to give without expecting return, and to trust even when everything around you shouted otherwise. This is rare. This is holy. This is what heaven honors. As was spoken in the book of James, chapter 1, verse 12, "Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those who love him." No, that verse was not written for the comfortable. It was written for people like you, the ones who stayed when others walked away, the ones who chose forgiveness instead of revenge, the ones who kept praying after the miracle didn't come. This is your portion now, the crown of endurance. You may not see a physical crown upon your head, but heaven does. It gleams in the unseen realm, a radiant testimony of your perseverance. Each jewel represents a moment when you could have given up but didn't. The crown isn't made of gold, it's made of moments, choices, tears, prayers, and faith. Think of how a crown is crafted. The gold must first be melted, purified, and beaten into shape. Stones are cut, polished, and placed with care. Every strike of the hammer, every flicker of flame serves a purpose. So too were your trials. Each hardship hammered away what didn't belong. Each season of pain polished something eternal in you. Now, you walk with invisible majesty. The world may not see it, but heaven recognizes your royalty. You've been set apart, not by titles or positions, but by purity of heart. You are the kind of soul that heaven trusts with authority because you've learned obedience in obscurity. That's why your presence carries weight now. When you speak, people listen, not because you're louder, but because you're real. Your words carry oil. Born from the crushing, your smile carries peace. Born from pain, you don't have to prove your calling anymore. You embody it. The crown you wear is not ornamental, it's functional. It grants you the grace to intercede for others, to speak life where there was despair, to lead, not from power, but from compassion. You've earned this crown not through perfection, but through perseverance. You walked through storms with integrity, through silence with faith, through loss with dignity. And now, heaven marks you as one who has overcome. You may still wonder, why did it have to hurt so much? Because without the pressure, the crown wouldn't fit. Your trials expanded your capacity to carry glory. The deeper your pain, the greater your empathy, the heavier your cross, the brighter your light. Every crushing moment became the space where grace could grow. You are different now, not harder, but softer, not bitter, but wise, not restless, but rooted. The old version of you, the one who sought approval and feared rejection, is gone. In its place stands a warrior of peace, one who has learned that real strength is gentle and that true victory is quiet. This crown doesn't make you untouchable, it makes you responsible. To wear it is to walk humbly, to forgive quickly, and to serve deeply. The greater the glory, the deeper the grace. You are being called now to live as one who has been tested and found true. Look around you. Chosen one. The signs of restoration are everywhere in the peace that doesn't make sense, in the sudden ease after years of effort, in the quiet confidence replacing old fear. These are not coincidences, they are confirmations. Heaven is showing you that the refining is over. You are crowned, not because you avoided the fire, but because you walked through it with faith intact. You carry the fragrance of someone who has met God in the furnace and lived to tell the story. That fragrance, humility mixed with holiness, is what draws others to the same light. This is not the end of your journey. It's the recognition of what you've become. You are the evidence that grace works. The tests did not destroy you. They introduced you to your true self, the one heaven saw from the beginning. Wear your invisible crown with reverence. It was not cheaply made. It cost you comfort, control, and certainty, but it gave you wisdom, strength, and intimacy with the divine. And that, chosen one, is the greatest reward of all. Chosen one. There comes a moment in every divine journey when the story flips, when what once oppressed you becomes the very stage that reveals your glory. You've reached that moment now. This is the prophetic reversal, the season where everything that worked against you begins to work for you. Heaven is not just restoring what was lost, it's rearranging what was broken into blessings so precise that even your pain will make sense. For so long, You thought the losses defined you. You looked at closed doors and unanswered prayers as proof of rejection. But in truth, they were divine redirection. The same winds that once pushed you down are now lifting you higher. What you thought was an ending was simply heaven turning the page. Every betrayal that wounded you was actually positioning you. Every delay that frustrated you was refining you. Every time you were overlooked, heaven was saying, "Not yet," because they don't deserve to see it until it's complete. God was saving your reveal for the right audience, the one that would understand that this was never luck. It was prophecy. The prophet Elijah spoke as recorded in the first book of Kings, chapter 17, verse 14. "The jar of flour will not be used up, and the jug of oil will not run dry until the day the Lord sends rain on the land." That same principle is breathing through your story right now. You thought you ran out of strength, of opportunity, of favor, but the oil never stopped flowing. You've reached the point in your journey where lack turns into overflow, where exhaustion turns into empowerment. The supply that heaven hid during your testing is being released now, and it will not run dry. This is the divine reversal. Where there was loss, there will be legacy. Where there was shame, there will be significance. Where there was silence, there will be songs. Everything that felt wasted is being reintroduced, not as fragments, but as foundation stones for the life you were meant to build. You're not going back to the way things were. You're being launched into what they were meant to be. The pain didn't come to end your story. It came to change your direction. Every disappointment was a breadcrumb leading you back to destiny. Look carefully. Chosen one, can you see it? The same people who dismissed you will soon see evidence of divine favor that cannot be explained. The same circumstances that mocked your prayers will turn into testimonies that glorify God. Heaven's justice is not about revenge, it's about restoration with interest. You lost time, but you're about to gain acceleration. You lost strength, but you're about to carry supernatural stamina. What the enemy thought he stole, heaven has multiplied behind the scenes. You are about to witness what happens when divine mathematics take over. God doesn't just add, He multiplies. He doesn't just restore, He redefines. And you, the one who once questioned if anything good could come from your pain, are about to watch beauty bloom from ashes. But remember, prophetic reversal isn't just external. It's not only about what changes around you, it's about what has shifted inside you. The bitterness that once ruled your heart has been replaced with compassion. The fear that once silenced you has turned into courage. The self-doubt that once paralyzed you has transformed into holy boldness. That inner resurrection is the truest miracle of all. And because your heart has changed, heaven can now trust you with what's next. You are stepping into favor that doesn't fade, the kind that flows from alignment, not ambition. Every lesson you learned in the dark is about to serve you in the light. The world will call it luck. You will know it as redemption. And when it happens, you won't boast, you'll bow. Because you'll remember that this wasn't something you earned, it was something God promised. So, as this message reaches you, let this be your declaration of faith in the reversal that has already begun. Comment 9,999 below a prophetic number of finality and divine transition, the mark of a chapter closing and a greater one beginning. When you write it, you're saying, I receive the turning. I welcome the change. I trust what's coming. All, you are standing in the middle of the flip, the turning of tides, the rewriting of endings, the unveiling of purpose. Everything that once felt heavy is becoming holy. Everything that once seemed delayed is now perfectly timed. Heaven has reversed the direction of your story, and the same waves that tried to drown you are now carrying you home. Chosen one. The air feels different now, doesn't it? It's lighter, clearer, charged with quiet authority. That's not coincidence, it's transformation. Something deep within you has shifted. You're no longer moved by the same fears that once chased you. You don't react the way you used to. You've crossed into a new realm of understanding, the awakening of your divine authority. There's a kind of strength that only comes after surrender, the kind that can't be taught by books or sermons, only by breaking. That's what you've gained. The authority you now carry was born in the place where your heart said, "Not my will, but yours." It's the kind of authority that comes when pain no longer defines you, when you've stared at loss, disappointment, and betrayal, and still chosen to rise in peace. The world measures power by control. Heaven measures it by composure. You've learned to command storms, not by shouting at them, but by staying calm in their midst. You no longer beg for peace, you bring it. When you walk into a room, the atmosphere adjusts, not because you seek attention, but because your spirit carries weight. The apostle reminds us in his letter to the Ephesians, chapter 6, verse 10. Finally, be strong in the Lord and in his mighty power. You are strong, not because you never fell, but because you rose differently. You've been through spiritual boot camp, trained not by comfort but by conflict. And now, the authority you carry is not arrogance, it's alignment. You've learned to speak heaven's language, the quiet certainty that what God said, he will do. You don't chase validation anymore. You understand that heaven's approval outweighs earthly applause. That's why you no longer force connections or explanations. You've realized that silence can be a strategy and peace can be a weapon. When others panic, you listen. When they fight, you discern. That is the mark of divine maturity. Authority doesn't look like shouting commands into the air. It looks like walking with unwavering peace when chaos surrounds you. You've discovered that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is stand still. You've seen that resistance often melts when faced with quiet confidence. You are learning to move like heaven, intentional, unhurried, unstoppable. Every word you speak now carries creative power because it's refined by experience. You don't waste language on fear. You release declarations shaped by wisdom. That's what happens when you've seen God turn storms into teachers and pain into prophecy. This awakening of authority isn't about dominance, it's about dominion, the ability to influence atmospheres, shift outcomes, and speak life into dead places. It's the same power Jesus carried when he said, "Peace, be still." That same power is rising in you now. You've been given keys, not physical ones, but spiritual, keys of discernment, timing, and revelation. You've learned to unlock doors that others can't even see. That's why certain things that once confused you now feel clear. Heaven is trusting you with insight because you've proven that you won't misuse it. But with authority comes humility. You know that the moment pride enters, power leaks. So you walk softly, aware that the same grace that elevated you can also correct you. You understand that true authority always bows before it leads. Chosen one. This awakening marks the moment where your voice begins to carry divine echo. When you speak peace, storms listen. When you bless others, heaven amplifies it. When you pray, your words ripple beyond what eyes can see. You are not just living on earth, you are operating as heaven's representative within it. This is why your prayers feel different now. They no longer sound like desperation, they sound like direction. You no longer plead, you declare. You no longer hope, you know. That knowing is the fruit of your testing, the reward of your endurance. You've walked through too much to doubt that heaven backs you. You are stepping into the fullness of what was always yours, authority rooted in intimacy. You don't command because you're powerful, you command because you're connected. You've learned that real strength flows not from striving, but from surrender. This is your awakening. Chosen one, the realization that you were never powerless. You were simply being prepared. Every scar became a seal. Every lesson became a weapon. Every tear became an anointing. You now stand not as the wounded, but as the wise, not as the fearful, but as the faithful. You are walking in divine authority, steady, grounded, radiant. Heaven trusts you now because you no longer crave control. You crave obedience. That is why doors open, atmospheres shift, and miracles follow wherever you go. You are no longer just surviving under grace, you are moving with it. Chosen one. You can feel it, can't you? The shift in the air, the change in the rhythm around you. Things that once resisted you are now making room for you. This is the season of divine vindication, the moment heaven balances the scales. Not by your demand, but by God's design. The story that was written in pain is about to be read in power. Vindication is not about proving others wrong, it's about revealing that God was right. He saw what you carried when others doubted it. He heard your prayers when others mocked them. He recorded your integrity when no one else noticed. And now, heaven is bringing to light what was hidden in the dark, as was spoken through the prophet Isaiah, chapter 60, verse 1. Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you. Those words are not poetic, they are prophetic. They mark a turning point. You are stepping into a light that no shadow can smother. Every misunderstanding, every false word, every moment of silence that made you feel invisible is being transformed into proof of divine favor. The same light that once exposed your weakness now illuminates your strength. You see, vindication isn't revenge, it's revelation. It's when God uses your life as a living sermon, saying, "This is what faith looks like when it refuses to die." It's when people who once questioned your endurance begin to ask for your wisdom. It's when the narrative flips without you having to lift a finger. There were seasons when you were misunderstood, when you tried to explain yourself, but your truth fell on deaf ears. You were accused, misused, and mislabeled. You learned to stop defending yourself because you realized that heaven speaks louder than explanations. And now, that silence is about to become your greatest evidence. Vindication always comes quietly. It doesn't shout, it shines. It doesn't demand attention, it draws it naturally. When the time is right, God begins to highlight what He hid, the very traits people mocked: your patience, your gentleness, your refusal to retaliate, become the reasons they now respect you. This is the paradox of divine justice. God's way of restoring doesn't humiliate your enemies, it heals your reputation. He doesn't destroy those who doubted you. He redeems what they damaged. The same mouths that gossiped will now have to testify, surely God's hand was on them. And the best part, you won't need to say a word. Chosen one. You are the living embodiment of that phrase. He prepares a table in the presence of my enemies, not as an act of pride, but of purpose. The table isn't set to humiliate others, it's set to feed them with truth. Some of those who hurt you will come back hungry for the wisdom born from your wounds. And when they do, you will feed them not with bitterness, but with grace. That's what makes you different. The world seeks validation. Heaven offers vindication. Validation demands attention. Vindication draws honor. You've outgrown the need to be right because you've seen the reward of being faithful. And now, that faithfulness is echoing through every area of your life. Doors that were shut will open without effort. Conversations that were silenced will be resurrected in your favor. The same environment that once rejected you will now call for your voice, because when God vindicates, He doesn't just restore, He elevates. This is not about getting even, it's about being seen. For years, you were hidden, misunderstood, overlooked, but heaven never forgot where you were planted. God allowed you to stay underground so that your roots could grow deep enough to handle visibility without pride. And now, as your life begins to bloom, the authenticity of your process will silence every doubt. Vindication looks like peace. It's waking up one day and realizing you don't need to fight anymore. It's feeling the weight of misunderstanding lift off your shoulders as truth begins to surface on its own. It's seeing how God used every injustice to craft something, just something eternal. And it's happening now. Even as you read this, you are walking into divine recognition that no human hand can orchestrate. The people who once couldn't see your value are now drawn to the very light they ignored. This is what it means for the glory of the Lord to rise upon you, not just around you, but within you. You don't have to explain your comeback. Your peace will do it for you. You don't have to rehearse your defense. Your results will speak. Every area where you were diminished will now become an altar of restoration. You'll look back on this and realize that God's silence was not denial. It was set up. Chosen one. Vindication is not arriving, it's already here. It's in your posture, your confidence, your calm. The same world that questioned your calling will now witness your confirmation. Heaven has declared your name cleared, your purpose proven, and your story redeemed. Chosen one, you've come a long way from the valley you once thought would bury you. You are not the same soul who began this journey trembling under the weight of uncertainty. You are the tested one, the one refined by trial, proven by endurance, and trusted by heaven with fire. The mantle you now carry wasn't handed to you. It was earned in the quiet wars that no one else saw. This is the mantle of the tested, the invisible garment heaven places on those who survived what was meant to end them. It's not a cloak of pride, but of purpose. It carries the fragrance of humility, the warmth of compassion, and the strength of conviction. Wherever you walk, atmospheres shift, not because of who you are, but because of what you've survived. Scripture says in the second letter to Timothy, chapter 2, verse 21, those who cleanse from what is dishonorable will be instruments made holy, useful for every good work. You, chosen one, have been prepared. The fire didn't destroy you, It purified you. The delay didn't break you, it disciplined you. The rejection didn't define you, it redirected you. And now, everything you've endured has become sacred oil, poured over your destiny. You carry something that can't be faked or fabricated, authenticity born from affliction. When heaven chooses a messenger, it doesn't pick the comfortable, it picks the crushed. Because the crushed understand compassion, the broken know how to heal, the silent ones know how to listen. You are now that vessel, a carrier of truth wrapped in gentleness, a warrior who fights with wisdom, not anger. Think of your story like a tapestry. From the underside, it looked tangled and chaotic threads of pain, confusion, and loss woven in directions that made no sense. But now you're beginning to see it from heaven's view. Every thread had purpose. Every color was chosen. What once looked like chaos has become a masterpiece. The pain was the thread that gave depth to the beauty. That's what your mantle represents. The completed picture of what faith can endure. It is heaven's signature on your life that says, "This one has been tested and found true." And now, as you carry this mantle forward, understand that it's not just for you. Mantles are never personal, they're generational. You've walked through the fire so you can lead others through theirs. The wisdom you gained in your wilderness is someone else's map out of confusion. The peace you now wear is someone else's permission to hope again. That's why your voice matters. Every time you speak, write, or share your story, you scatter seeds of healing. You become a bridge for others to cross from pain into peace. Don't underestimate what your words can do. Your survival itself is a message. So as you listen now, remember this, supporting this message through your like, your share, your subscription. Your donation isn't about growing a platform. It's about keeping a movement of light alive. Every time you share, you hand someone else the lantern that once guided you. Every time you give, you plant seeds that grow into new testimonies. Think of it like rain. One drop feels small, but when thousands fall together, they turn dry ground into life. Your one gesture, that comment, that share, that act of giving becomes part of heaven's rainfall, soaking dry hearts with hope again. You're not just a listener, you're a lifter. And maybe you've been wondering, does what I do even matter? Oh, it does. The same God who noticed your tears notices your kindness. Every act of generosity, every moment of engagement is recorded as partnership with purpose. You are part of something far larger than you imagine, a web of souls connected by faith, all carrying fragments of the same flame. This is your mantle now, not a burden, but a blessing. It doesn't make you superior, it makes you responsible. You've been given light, not to hide it, but to multiply it. You've been handed oil, not to store it, but to pour it. When you give, share, or comment with sincerity, you're not just interacting, you're interceding. You're saying, let this light reach someone who needs it as much as I once did. So, chosen one, wear your mantle boldly but humbly. Let your life remain the sermon. Let your scars remain the proof. And as this message moves through you, may it continue to reach hearts still searching for home. If it speaks to you, write below a word, a thought, a reflection. Let heaven see that the mantle has been received. because every comment, every act of faith, is another confirmation that the fire did its work and the light still burns. Chosen one. After the crown comes the calling, after the refining, the revealing. The fire that shaped you was never the destination, it was the preparation. You have reached the threshold of a new assignment. It may not look grand at first. It rarely does. But within it lies the quiet unfolding of everything heaven has been preparing in secret. The tests were never random. Every season of silence taught you discernment. Every loss trained your eyes to see value where others see emptiness. Every unanswered prayer turned your heart into an altar where surrender became worship. All of it was for this, to prepare you to carry a message the world desperately needs. As the apostle wrote in the book of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 14, "You are the light of the world. A city on a hill cannot be hidden." Those words were not just spoken to the masses, they were whispered to souls like yours, the ones who endured darkness and came out glowing. You are the proof that light still wins. You are the reminder that grace still works. The new assignment before you is not about position or status, it's about illumination. You are being sent into places that have forgotten what hope feels like. And your very presence will remind them that heaven hasn't gone silent. The calling will look simple. It may start with a conversation, a quiet act of kindness, or a decision to forgive again. But beneath those small acts lies divine power. Heaven moves most powerfully through humility. God doesn't need spectacle to work, He needs surrender. And that's what you carry now, the willingness to say yes before knowing all the details. This new chapter isn't a performance, it's a partnership. You've learned to stop asking, "Lord, what do you want me to do?" and started saying, "Lord, how do you want to love through me?" That shift from duty to devotion changes everything. It transforms work into worship and calling into communion. You'll begin to notice it soon, people drawn to you without understanding why. Strangers opening their hearts in your presence. Conversations turning spiritual without intention. That's not coincidence. That's calling. The light you carry has a frequency that attracts those lost in shadow. Heaven has made you a lighthouse. And your new assignment is simply to shine. But don't expect it to always be comfortable. Light often offends the darkness. Some will misunderstand your peace, misinterpret your quiet strength, or question your motives. Do not be discouraged. Rejection has never been your end, it's been your redirection. Every time someone turns away, heaven turns you toward someone ready. And don't rush this assignment. God's timing is deliberate. The same way He allowed your roots to grow before revealing your fruit, He will unfold your mission step by step. You don't have to push doors open anymore. The doors meant for you will recognize your presence and unlock on their own. Your only task is obedience, simple, steady, sacred. You'll notice that what once drained you now fuels you. Where fear once lived, passion rises. The same experiences that once haunted you have become your vocabulary of healing. You will speak to others with the tenderness of someone who has been there because you have. You know the sound of loneliness, the taste of waiting, the ache of silence. And now, you'll use those memories as medicine. Heaven doesn't send the untested. God sends those who've bled for their understanding. That's you now. You carry empathy in your bones. You no longer judge the broken, you recognize them. You no longer pity the lost, you pursue them. You no longer question the journey, you honor it. And perhaps the most beautiful part of your new assignment is this: you will not walk it alone. Divine connections are forming people whose spirits recognize your light. Even if they don't yet know your name, you'll find them in unexpected places: a chance encounter, a whispered prayer, a shared moment of honesty. Together, you will build what heaven designed, not an empire, but an ecosystem of grace. Chosen one. This new assignment isn't about what you'll do, it's about who you've become. The world needs that version of you, the one softened by mercy and strengthened by truth, the one who no longer seeks recognition but resonance. You are the answer to someone's prayer, the confirmation of someone's faith, the living proof that endurance births purpose. Go quietly, but go boldly. Heaven has trusted you with new territory, new people, and new purpose. Carry what you've learned into every conversation, every space, every act of kindness. You're not starting over, you're stepping forward. The journey that once broke you has now become your message. And as you walk into what's next, remember, you don't bring light with you. You are the light. Chosen one. Heaven watches now in silence, not because it is distant, but because it is satisfied. You have reached the moment every journey longs for: completion. The hardest test has been passed, the purpose of the fire fulfilled. The weight that once crushed you has become the anchor that grounds you. You are standing at the summit of everything your trials were shaping you to become. This is not an ending, it is a recognition. The unseen work within you has matured into visible glory. What once was weakness has turned into wisdom. What once felt like punishment now gleams as preparation. You've walked through every season, the silence, the breaking, the rebuilding, and now you stand crowned, calm and clear. Heaven whispers only one phrase over your spirit: well done, faithful one. Ole. Those words are not spoken lightly. They are the echo of every sleepless night you survived, every battle you fought silently, every moment you stayed when walking away seemed easier. They are heaven's affirmation that you fulfilled the purpose of the test, not to win, but to become. The ancient words in the book of Revelation, chapter 3, verse 12. The one who is victorious, I will make a pillar in the temple of my God. Never again will they leave it. End 1. You are that pillar now steady, sacred, unshakable. You have become part of something eternal. You are no longer merely standing in faith. You have become faith embodied. You carry the quiet strength of one who has seen the storm, survived the silence, and still stands in surrender. Look around you, not with your eyes, but with your spirit. Can you sense it? The atmosphere has shifted. The very air carries peace. Heaven is not applauding because you performed. It is rejoicing because you persevered. The angels that once guarded you through your breaking now surround you in celebration. The lessons you've lived through are no longer weights, they are wings. You have reached the place where you no longer need external proof. You've seen God's faithfulness in both abundance and absence. You've learned that His presence is not measured by miracles, but by the quiet certainty that you are never alone. You now understand that the reward of obedience is not always success. Sometimes it's stability. The peace that remains after the storm is the true evidence of victory, and as heaven commends you, it also commissions you, because those who have endured what you've endured are entrusted with more than applause. They're entrusted with legacy. Your story will not fade. It will feed others. The words that once comforted you will now flow through you. The same grace that held you will now reach through your voice to those still walking through the dark. This is the beauty of divine completion. It never ends with one person. God finishes His work in you, so He can begin His work through you. You are both the testimony and the tool. You are the reminder that faith is not fragile, it is forged. You are the living evidence that those who refuse to give up become the hands through which God rebuilds others. You may not hear trumpets or see visions, but deep within your spirit, you sense the peace of closure. You know that something holy has ended, not your purpose, but your preparation. You've moved from proving yourself to embodying truth. The noise has ceased. The striving has stopped. And what remains is a steady heartbeat of gratitude. You carry scars. Yes, but they no longer ache. They shine. They have become sacred markings of endurance. Reminders that grace does not remove pain, but redeems it. Those who see your light will never fully understand the cost of it, and they don't need to. Only heaven knows how many nights your tears watered the soil of your destiny. Only heaven knows the weight of the silence you carried with faith, and only heaven could transform that pain into power. Chosen one, this is your eternal commendation. Heaven's gaze rests upon you not as a judge, but as a witness, a proud father watching his child stand tall after the storm. You have proven that love is stronger than loss, that faith can live through fire, and that surrender is not weakness but wisdom. From this moment forward, you walk not as the tested, but as the trusted. You have completed the circle from chosen to crushed to crowned. Your spirit bears the fragrance of perseverance. Your soul glows with quiet authority, and your heart beats in rhythm with eternity. This is not the closing of your story, but the sealing of your identity. You are the one heaven calls faithful. You are the one who passed the hardest test, the test of trusting when you could not see. And now, you stand in the light of divine satisfaction, clothed in peace, crowned with endurance, marked forever as heaven's own. Well done, chosen one. You are home in purpose, steady in grace, and eternal in significance. Chosen one. Before this chapter closes, take a breath. Let these words settle like morning light through an open window. You've walked through revelation after revelation, from the silence of testing to the song of triumph, and now you stand whole. But the story doesn't end here. It continues every time this message reaches another soul in need of hope. If these words have touched something deep within you, let them ripple outward. When you like, you acknowledge the light that found you. When you share, you carry that light into someone else's night. When you subscribe, you choose to stay connected to the flow of messages that keep faith alive in dark places. And when you comment, you don't just type, you testify. Write a few words below. A reflection, a prayer, a truth that rose within you. Let heaven see your gratitude, and let others feel your strength. This is how the chosen stay united, by lifting one another higher, one act of faith at a time. Your voice matters. Your story matters. And every small act of connection keeps this light burning across the world.